Good Sunday morning, and thanks so much for joining us for Inside Utah Politics. I'm Glenn Mills. 6 school districts all across the state are asking voters for more money. On Election Day, voters will decide the fate of those bonds. Here's a look at the districts with bonds on the ballot. We're talking Morgan, Weber, Ogden, Canyons, Granite, and Paiute. Now combined, the bonds are seeking about $800 million. This morning we are digging a little deeper into the biggest one, that is the Canyon School District bond. Leon Wilcox is the district's business administrator. Jeff Haney is the director of communications. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.
All right, we have about a couple weeks left before we will know the outset of this bond, but let's talk a little bit about it. $283 million is what it's seeking. Where would that money come from?
That money would come from bond issuances that we'll make over the next 4 to 6 years to build these projects that we have outlined, that our Board of Education has outlined, to progress our academic initiatives and our achievement plan.
Into the future. I want to get more into what the money will be used for specifically, but let's talk about the money first. One of the things you guys are making sure people know is that it is revenue neutral, but still people take a look at that and say, well, it's got to impact me somehow. The money's got to come from somewhere. So how will it impact the taxpayer in the Canyon School District?
Right now, our tax rate will not increase. What we will do is we will layer on what we call layer on our debt. As our old debt is retired or paid off, we will issue this new debt, so our tax rate remains exactly the same. It will not increase.
So basically, for a voter, just to be clear here, no increase, but it would be an extended period of time that you would be paying on that.
That is correct.
And
yes.
do you know how long that extended period of time?
It will go about 10 more years.
10 more years.
10 more years out. Yeah.
Jeff, that's a big point you guys have been making. Why is it important for voters to understand that?
Right. You know, when we first became a district in 2009, we took a look at all of our buildings. We wanted to see how our buildings were, and we did an architectural review. And this review showed that we had $650 million in needed repairs. Well, in order for us to provide that 21st century education to our kids and to provide those learning environments that are safe, we asked the public in 2010 to approve the issuance of a $250 million bond, and we would build or improve 13 schools. This fall, we did 11 and 12 of those schools, and this fall we'll have the 13th. So it's time for us to take a look at what the next phase will be. So it's important for us as we move forward in this next step, and we've identified 11 major projects across the district that need to be addressed for seismic issues, for safety issues, to modernize them, and to bring them into the 21st century, so that we can get this money through the, like Leon said, through the issuances of bonds to address all of these needs. When we talk to the public about those schools, we want to make sure that they know we're being fiscally responsible with that. So we have, our business office has identified a plan where we can layer in new debt as old debt comes off. It's important for taxpayers to know that we've put this plan into place so we can keep that tax rate neutral proposal intact.
So as you know, I'm a beet digger, and I can't help but to think, as you talk about this assessment plan, how much my old school would have brought that down even more. Obviously, there's a new high school now, so we don't have to worry about the old Jordan High School there.
Exactly. Now, did you go to the old one or the new one?
I went to the old one.
So
it doesn't even exist anymore. Okay. And there was an earthquake once while I was there, by the way, and I remember the ripple through the hallway and whatnot. So not an issue, just kind of a fun side note there. Let's talk specifically about some of the big projects. Right. 2 new high schools out of this bond if it's approved.
Yes, our 2 biggest projects will be rebuilding Brighton High. That was built in 1969. It has some issues there, seismic and other issues there. And the other big one will be Hillcrest. That is 57 years old, opened in 1962. So we want to address that, and we really want to bring 2 new state-of-the-art high schools to these 2 communities.
So those would be complete rebuilds as part of this?
Yes.
Okay, and then some work on Corner Canyon as well?
There would be some work on Corner Canyon as well to complete the project to remove the portables that are at the school now. So to add the permanent 16 classrooms there so that we could remove those portables and have those permanent classrooms so teachers can have their own classrooms, and that whole school would be complete.
Okay. Leon, your thoughts on this being the fiscally responsible thing to do as far as this plan goes?
As far as the Corner Canyon?
The whole project.
Oh, yes. We feel like it's, our Board of Education have thought out this plan, has studied this plan for many, many months. We've done surveys with the community, and we feel like this is the best way to go about and address these issues to bring about the safest and best academic plans for our students. This will impact 17,000 students when all these projects are done. And so we are very excited to do this. We've done as Jeff has mentioned, we've had great success with our last bond issuance, and this is that next step, that next phase to complete the projects that we need.
I want to give you guys a chance to respond to some of the opposition that is going around on the bond. The first one has to do with Corner Canyon. You talk about it is a small percentage of this bond, 4.5 million of the 283 would go to that, but that's a school that's what, 4 or 5 years old? So why are we already needing more money to address that when it's such a young school already?
Right, so it's less than 2% of the $283 million bond. So, and also it's to remove the portables from that new school. And it's to make sure that some teachers have their permanent classrooms. This isn't unheard of. We have precedence with this. With the last bond in 2010, when the public gave us approval to do the $250 million, we added wings to Hillcrest and Brighton to accommodate the enrollment at the schools. At Midvale Elementary, a brand new school, actually one of the very first schools that was built in Canyon School District with the previous bond. We saw a sudden surge in enrollment growth there, and we added a wing. So it's not unprecedented for us to have a new school, see a need, and then build onto it to accommodate not only the enrollment, but to ensure that we are providing access to all the students in that area, classrooms for our teachers, and a modern learning environment for all the students.
Okay, starting to run out of time. It goes by really quick, but I want to get your thoughts on a couple other issues. Why not redo boundaries? Shift students around a little with the assets you already have.
Right. So all of our schools are roughly at 2,100 students now. And that is evenly distributes the students among all 5 comprehensive high schools. 2,100 students is kind of the sweet spot for administrators to be able to offer the AP and concurrent enrollment, so that every single community at all 5 of those traditional high schools have equal opportunity to offer those programs.
Okay, I got to get your response on one last thing. You know, a complaint has been filed with the Lieutenant Governor's office on a specific advertisement that has been going out claiming that it does not provide equal access, which is the duty of a school district if they're going to send out literature. The Lieutenant Governor's office intended to agree with that and has sent it off to the county attorney. Your thoughts on that?
Well, our aim here was to inform the public about the proposal to rebuild and renovate schools. We have sent out informational items about the proposal, how it would affect taxes, the complete list, how we would spend the money. We even sent out a newsletter that had a pro and con argument. Our aim was to inform the public, and we sought guidance from the Lieutenant Governor's office, and we are receiving that guidance and will adhere to it as we move forward.
All right, I have to end it on that note. Appreciate having you here and giving us information on the bond. We will see in a couple weeks how it all plays out. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet.